All right, everybody. We're talking. I guess we're still talking about the Legend of Keret, but we're talking about Legend of Keret in relation to Moses, right? Because Moses came in to fight against the Canaans and the Phoenicians. But the Jews, when they left Canaan, they spoke Canaan, right? But being away for so long, their language eventually accented and then dialected and became a different type of West Semitic language, right? Um, and then Moses obviously did his changes. Like I think he did a lot of changes. So there was two different changes to eventually where you get like I guess Hebrew or something. But that Hebrew really is still a version of Canaan. Um, and he was going in and not only fighting against the gods of Canaan, but he was fighting against their ways. Right? They Moses has a completely different way than the Phoenicians, I believe. Um, so when it comes to Moses, I have a lot of bold claims, right? I mean, we can start with when Moses was talking to God, right? Moses says, "Oh, God, I am not good with words." Right? And it's like, no, bitch, you're lying. Like, he's lying. He is good with words. But he says this, I'm not poetic. Um, but then we get to the story in Genesis of Lot, right? And there's this small section within Moses' writings where he's talking about these battles between all these Mesopotamians, and he's actually using poetic language, and it's like it turns out he's good at writing spicy stuff if he wants to, right? He just chooses not to. And the reason I think he chooses not to is because I think one of his heroes is Hermes Trismegistus, right? And Trismegistus means thrice majestic, which means that Hermes has three different meanings in his words, right? If you're sarcastic, you have two different meanings in your words. If you're doing coded language, you have two different meanings in your words, right? But Hermes is thrice majestic in that he has three different meanings in his words, right? Because, I mean, Moses comes along and he tells us not to lie. But what's Moses doing when he's speaking to God? He's lying. Because he is good with words if he wanted to be. And not only if he wanted to be, he actually is, because he's using more of the Hermes style rather than the Sumerian style. Or the Canaan style, which is more dramatic. Um, so, yeah, Moses is, he's lying to God, right? But it's about the spirit that you put on these words, right? If you put like a very serious spirit, rah, rah, I am serious. I am serious. If you put a serious spirit on these words, then, oh my God, Moses is lying, right? But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is that Moses is talking with God, and Moses is getting his way, right? Moses is getting his way. Like this is a silly moment, and God is acting like the huffy puffy father. But this is a silly moment. Um, it's very childlike, I believe. But Moses and Aaron also lie to the Pharaoh because they tell the Pharaoh, "Hey, we just want to go worship on this mountain for 3 days." That was what they told the Pharaoh, but that's not what God told them, because God told them to get the Jews out. Right? So they were lying to the Pharaoh. Right? So Moses tells us not to lie, but then he starts lying. And I think this is a part of the Trismegistus of Moses, right? Moses Trismegistus, because there's several different meanings to Moses' words, right? If we go to Paul of Tarsus, Paul of Tarsus, in one of his writings, he says that the good man will always see the best in people, basically. And I don't remember the exact words, but this is the gist of it. The good-hearted man will always see the best in people, while the bad-hearted man will always see the worst in people. So it's always like cynicism and derision, right? But what Paul of Tarsus is actually doing is he's revealing the Trismegistus code as used by Hermes, I believe. And I myself am still trying to decipher Hermes. There's no one out there talking with me, but I'll do it by myself if I have to. But I've gone a long way into really deciphering him, and Hermes is very dry, but there's this, oh my God, hilarious humor behind some of his words. But I think that he realizes that bad-hearted men will try to read his words, so he's got to try to hide his words within the text, and so he's got to come up with an interpretation of his words, so that a bad-hearted man could be like, hey, this is kind of funny, right? And so I think you get that in many of his words, because they're very esoteric and some may say vague, I guess, at times, but I don't think so. You can be vague and substantive at the same time, right? As one of my English teachers doesn't realize, I guess, maybe. But no, I totally think that's what Hermes was, and I think that's what Moses is too, right? I think that's the interesting thing. That's why I want to talk about this, because Moses is telling you not to lie, and what is he doing? He's lying, right? Moses is going up to the Jews, and he's like, "Hey, don't fuck Gentile women." And what's Moses doing? Moses is fucking Gentile women. Like, what the fuck? Right? But if you look at Moses at the beginning of the text, right, what do you see? You see this good-hearted man who is not wise. And it's only after Moses flees Egypt that he slowly starts to become wise. But he was this hot-headed Jew that wanted, total Jew domination of the world, right? Um, but, as we see in the Tower of Babel, that's wrong. Like, no tribe is supposed to conquer the world, because the world is beautiful variety and transformation. Um, but for the Jews to be a beautiful part of the world, that's what now Moses wanted once he became wise, right? Because he had actually conquered Egypt. He could have had the Jews be the dominant class of Egypt if he wanted to. But he conquered Egypt and he just fucking left it behind, right? Um, but I mean, so here's the thing that I believe about Moses, because Moses believes it's all about the heart, right? Like I said in one of these Legend of Keret videos, is that in Moses, it's the heart that gives you immortality. It's love. If you're a loving man or a loving woman, then you're for all time. It's not your bank account, like these Phoenicians obviously believed. If you don't have a good bank account in these Phoenicians, then you're nothing, right? You're a locust. But for Moses, that's not what it's about. It's about the heart, like as it says in the later Torah. It's better to have a small good family than a large obnoxious family. Well, as goes family, so goes tribes. So it's better to have a small good tribe than a large evil obnoxious tribe. And that's not what Moses was about. He was all about the heart. And so he didn't care what the idiots thought about him. So when he was writing this text, he was making fun of his earlier self. Like, he used to be this idiot that he's now making fun of in these texts. Because he's totally making fun of all of you. Like, this is a man who tells you not to lie, but he lies. But I mean, again, it's all about the heart, and this is not moral relativity at all, because a liar doesn't deserve the truth, right? Neither does someone who doesn't themselves care about the truth. If they don't, like, they might not be liars, but they don't care about the truth. They'd rather, fart and laugh than care about what's true and false. Someone who doesn't care about the truth doesn't deserve it, right? And so, Moses has a true, honest heart. That's what I believe. He has a true, honest heart. But he can lie to the sheep in order to lead them on the right path. He can lie to the sheep because no man is supposed to be a sheep according to Moses. We're all supposed to get on those ropes, right? Climb those ropes according to Moses. I mean, true inheritance is all about merit. Has nothing to do with birth. Because it's all about the heart. And according to Moses, if you're a Jew with a bad heart, then you're not a Jew. According to Moses. That's what I think, anyways. And ultimately, I do think there's this very funny Phoenician interpretation of Moses, right? Because again, here's a man who tells us not to lie, but he lies. Here's a man who tells us not to murder, but after that golden calf, he just starts killing a bunch of Jews, doesn't he? He's like, "Thou shalt not murder." Go, cut these guys down, right? Like, what's going on here? Is this not like a tee hee hee type guy, right? Do as I say, not as I do. It says, "Do not covet your neighbor's goods." Doesn't he go conquer the land of Canaan? Right? Doesn't he leave Egypt with a whole bunch of shit? Like, people are like, "Hey, take all my shit," right? Yeah, no. I mean, there's this comedic element that, again, if we go back to Paul of Tarsus, that the good-hearted man is never going to see. Right? The good-hearted man is never going to see this element of Moses that is just like, what? What's going on here? Right? But what I believe is going on here is that the law is of the heart. Right? It's not of the specific letter of the law. It's about the spirit and about the love and about the heart and the spirit. And I think with my interpretation of Moses, yeah, no, it just makes a whole lot more sense. Everything that's going on, because Moses is hiding what he's saying, just like Hermes did. And there's a reason that he's hiding it, just like Hermes did. But in order to truly hide it, you need to hide it from a bad-hearted person who is searching for that higher wisdom in order to take control of the world, right? Or have power or money, right? Because within all of us, we have the choice of awesomeness or toxicity, and we choose one or the other, or most of us choose anything in between. But there's some people who just have bad hearts, who can be competent in one way or another. And people who have bad hearts, who are competent, can just cause so much destruction upon the earth. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but it's all good. No, it is.